Do you want to help support Beyond Forbidden and receive extra content that's not seen anywhere else? By becoming a patron, a few things you will receive are the full-length 90-minute or 120-minute podcast episode. Members will also receive a private link of the video podcast and will only be exclusive to Patreon members. In-person, face-to-face interviews with some of the most well-known, respected researchers. Behind-the-scenes footage of interviews not seen anywhere else. And that's just a few perks. So what do you have to lose? Cut out one brain-rotting, overly processed Happy Meal a month that doesn't do anything beneficial for your mind, body, and spirit, and become a Patreon for just $5. What if ghosts, apparitions, aliens, Bigfoot, and other entities are not actually occurring in this simulated reality? Maybe that's why it's hard to get proof and truth on these strange mysteries in this phenomena. What if they are not only overlapping from other simulated realities, and what if they are only overlapping from other simulated realities, and sometimes they are known as interdimensional? Like Bigfoot's been known to be interdimensional entities, aliens, apparitions, ghosts, but instead of interdimensional, they are slipping into this simulation. Maybe we can call these, instead of interdimensional, we can call them inter-simulational beings. Inter-simulational beings or entities that are able to slip in and out via whatever
ISBs.
Via whatever program from the simulation they have within themselves.
I don't doubt that there's more than one simulation.
I don't know. The algorithm hasn't hit me hard. I don't know why, because I posted some crazy stuff in the past and they haven't taken it down. So, but I'm a little careful what I post now, because we got to use the system against themselves. You know what I mean? We got to learn how to be strategic and be stealthy. But so for those that this is the first time seeing you, hearing of you, who is HOWDIE MICKOSKI, and how did you get involved with what I'm sure they have? They will see I don't know what the title's going to be, but they will see the title and know basically what this interview is going to be about. So how did you get involved in this field?
Yeah, good question, right? Who am I? There's the official question of the seeker. Because on one level, we actually don't know. We think we know. It's easy to say, I'm a name, I've got this body, I've got these experiences, I've got these memories, I've got these whatever. But I know you want to go into more of my death experience later on. And then when I had the death experience, I realized I was none of those things. So it becomes quite a challenge. But the standard story would be semi-normal guy growing up, very popular, liked his friends in high school, was a hockey player for a long time, became a stand-up comedian for 10 or 12 years. So I was choosing very strange lives, pro hockey coach for a while. So I was choosing things that were not really part of the system. Had some pretty intense traumas in the 1990s that led me into an extreme depression, wanted to kill myself, came out of that with a program, watching a program on ancient Egyptian pyramid building. And that took me into about 8 or 10 years of studying ancient Egypt, the Maya, the alchemy, Hermeticism, and was lucky enough to meet a Korean monk and some native medicine men and spend time on the reserve with them. And then I had a death experience in 2005, which threw me into clarity and confusion at the same time for about 10 years. It was a very, very difficult period after that. Even though there was huge moments of clarity, it was extreme confusion after the death experience. That kind of finished around 2019. I came out with a book about all of that called Falling for Truth. That same year is the year I wrote probably the thing I'm most known or was most known for. That was the book Exposing the Expositions, all about the world fairs of the 1800s and the incredible lies of our history. So I had that book going for about 2 or 3 years. And in the course of that, a lot of this old stuff that I had done and researched and exercises I'd done started coming up, and I started talking about them in my various channels. And the idea of Plato's Cave and talking about Plato's Cave decided, well, it was time for a new book. And like we talked about last time, once I got into Plato's Cave, I realized the whole story is just upside down, wrong, not presented properly, and began to see this world as a giant soul trap of our essence being here to be used as a giant battery for the system. And so the book was a sort of a call to like, hey, maybe some others should check into this, ask some questions and see if that's possible. And if you think it is, then the answer becomes, well, how do we get out of this place? So there's the short update for everybody. And here we
And
are
to,
working on a few new ones.
and to let everybody know that you will have an updated and new book coming soon, so they can be expecting that.
Yeah, I've got actually a book, a historical book first, a sports origin book actually coming out in September, which some people might say that seems strange given the stuff you've done. Why would you write a book on sports origins? Combination of me being a sports historian originally, but it's really a way of digging, getting people who are not who have not fallen into the alternative history ideals, particularly about the very strange 1800s. So presenting very strange stories of hockey and baseball and basketball and all of the really strange origin stories of all of these sports of that time frame might get people to ask some questions about history in general. So that's why I thought I'd come out with that book in September. And then I've got a sort of I'll have a smaller Exit the Cave that will come out before Christmas. I was originally going to do another big one, but I think it'll be just something simple, like 100 or 110 pages of just here's where I've come in the last year. Here's what I want to share with you rather than wait until I have a perfect book. Well, why not get the next phase out for people? So that's what I've been working on. And yeah, building a community over on locals, that's been great. I kind of slowly had to drift away from YouTube. The comments
Oh,
and
I
the
know,
it
I
just
know.
got to be so intense. It got to be so nasty and intense, and it's like I'm doing this for free. I'm like the actual posting of videos, it's free, so I don't need that kind of that kind of intensity. And so I moved over to locals, and it's been
Throw
great because now I've got a really good community.
throw out your
Yeah,
locals where people can find you.
yeah, that's howdie.mccoskey.locals, I think, something like that. We
Well,
can we can put
okay,
it up below.
yeah, I'll put that below,
But
and I'll put our previous interview below too, also. And
yeah,
but
because the idea was it's also important to for people in this time because it's getting crazy, and it's one of the reasons that my books have been able to be, I think, um responded to by so many people. If I did this 20 years ago, they would have been mostly ignored. The world was pretty good, everybody was pretty happy, things looked normal. you know, what you're talking about, a soul trap and some demiurge setting up a suffering pit of hell for people? No, 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 you're crazy. But now, given the last 3 years that people have had to go through and the so many layers for the average person that has been ripped apart, and they've had to see more of this realm than they ever thought they'd see before. We're looking at the posters behind you, and there's Dark City, there's They Live. I mean, that's been that's been that's been put forth in the last 3 years for people. So now books like I've been writing can be taken in, and people can say, not again, I want anyone to believe anything I say, because I don't, nor do I want anyone to disbelieve what I say. I'd like you to just take what I'm doing, take my research, take my information that we're going to share in the interview, and think about it for yourself. Come up to your own with your own conclusions. But now at least a thesis like I've been presenting is now there's more people willing to ask those questions about it and willing to say maybe that's possible. And so I've realized it's important to build a community on top of that, where like-minded people who are seeing through these things have a chance to interact together with one another. Too many people have felt really, really alone with everything, and they felt they've had no one to talk to. And that was important for me, how to put together something. And I'm still figuring it out. It's still in the process, but that was important, was how to get a place where people who, in a sense, are seeing through the matrix themselves have a place where they have somebody else they feel they can share that with.
so let's start off.
Yep.
Like I told you before the interview, my goal is to try to ask questions maybe that you've never been asked, or add a little a curveball, of similar questions that you've been asked. Maybe ask the
Sure.
same question, but kind of like mix it up a little bit. But first, this is going to be a prelude to my next question, which is my or statement that is kind of long winded. But let's first start off talking about your near death experience that you experienced.
Okay. What would you like to know?
Break it down, and I guess kind of give especially the ones that may not know of you, just a Cliff Notes version of it. Like
Um,
what
well, I've
year
had
and what happened and that thing.
hmm, Sure. I've had I guess what you would call a few death experiences. The first that hit me wasn't me directly. I had an ex-girlfriend who was murdered my last year of university. So that was like my first real walking into death directly. And it opened a lot of questions for myself. Just that experience, once I kind of got through the shock factor of it, I had to start asking, how does reality work? How does life work? Here's somebody who's living a really good, normal life the way it's supposed to be laid out, and now she's dead. So that was one of my choices of why I didn't want to live a normal life, because it didn't seem like a normal life really had any true importance, given that if it all ends so quick, we should be doing something different with our lives. In 1999, I had a death experience in the first year of my work where I saw myself die. And I don't want to say necessarily it's a parallel reality or it's a time looped reality, but I saw myself dead in another reality, one way or another. So I realized one way or another, there's more than one me living this only one experience. And so that changed a lot for me. The main death experience, though, happened in 2005. I just finished writing my Egypt book. I thought I was pretty smart. I thought I knew a lot of stuff. And I was out hiking in the mountain, or yeah, hiking in the mountains, I guess the best way to call it, with a friend in the Rocky Mountains near Calgary. And there's an area known as Johnston Canyon, which I had never been to before. And I've had so many people tell me, "Oh, it's beautiful up there." I didn't know it's a waterfall. I had no idea what it was, right? And normally you park your car at the main there's like a main parking area, and then you walk up the falls. That's normally how you do. Well, we didn't know what it was. We parked way on the other side of it, and there was a trail that would take you around the back. So we walked to the falls and got to this. We didn't know there were falls. We just got to this really nice river, really strong running river, which of course was the river that would become the waterfall. And I thought this is a good place to meditate. So we sat down and we were just sitting quietly. Everything was fine, and I got an idea. I'm gonna clean. I have had a crystal that I would carry in my pocket. I thought, oh, I should clean it in the running water. This will cleanse it a bit. Yeah. So as I did that, I slipped and I fell in. And I didn't realize how hard the water was running. It was going at a tremendous pace. I managed to swim as hard as and I can start to realize now, oh, it's running so fast because it's a waterfall. So I'm swimming as hard as I can to my friend on the bank, and he's kind of reaching his hand in. I went to grab him, and I slipped myself and pulled him in. And normally, and I was flat like that when it happened. And as I pulled him in, I came this way, and the water just took me because I had nothing that could stop the flow. And as soon as I got hit with that water, I realized this is where I'm going to die. That this moment now is I'm going to die, and I'm going to have front row seats to watch it. That's basically what it felt like. There was no need to keep living. There was no need. In fact, I found it. The initial reaction was, this is so funny. Like, of all the ways you could die, like of the 10 million ways you could die, I'm going to die by slipping into a river just near a waterfall. What a dumb way to die, kind of. But I was fine with it. And I'd come to this incredible acceptance of that this was going to happen. As soon as my acceptance was total that I'm going to die and it's fine, I'll just say everything that I thought I'd ever thought of was me disappeared. So thoughts were gone, feelings were gone, memories were gone, emotions were gone, hopes were gone, fears were gone. Even, I mean, everything, it was just gone. And all that was left was like a witnessing awareness in a process moving at ultimate slow speed. So I'm going to describe what happened in like half a second, but I could talk for like 2 hours of what happened in that half
Yeah.
second. And in that half second, yeah, the best I could describe it is clusters of information. So thought was no longer there, which I found interesting. At the time you need to like fight to survive, your thoughts are gone. They just don't exist. But there was this like bubble of information that would just come up, burst in front of me, and be known. Whatever was in the bubble was totally understood. And then the next one would come, and the next one would come. And so this was going on, and it was so interesting for me because I had spent 8 years testing reality. A lot of all the exercises I did, I was doing 14 hours a day of really hard work, trying to prove that reality was real. and it was failing miserably. And by the time I got to the canyon experience, I came to realize reality is fake. It's a transparent holographic illusion. But I was still real. And that's the great spiritual mistake. The world's a dream, but I'm real. And in that moment of death, I realized, shit, I'm as fake as the rest of reality, right? But there's something that's true, this awareness that is, in a sense, observing everything. That's what I really am. I've always been this awareness. And I'm like, I've tricked myself into thinking I'm all this other stuff.
Mhm.
It was just a mind bending realization to realize everything I ever classified myself as is false. Um, and in the midst of it, my friend was still in the river at the same time. And I had a thought. Now a real thought came into my mind. It was, if I don't get out, how is my friend going to get out? And I slammed into a boulder because I was moving at, unbelievable speed because it was May that it happened. So the water levels at its highest from the snow melt in the Rockies. And I got slammed just really, really hard into a rock, into an underground rock, and it kind of deflected me a little bit, and I was able to touch the ground. And I realized it was shallower than I thought at that point. So I was able to kind of scurry my way out and just crawl out of the river before I got to the waterfall. And as I was doing that, I was yelling to my friend, it's shallow, it's shallow. And I'm thinking, how can I get a tree branch to help him out? And I realized he's crawling out too. We sat there for about half an hour together, just didn't say anything. We just sat there, just peacefully. And then we shared our story, each of us. And our stories were almost identical. He went through the same thing of accepting he was going to die and that all of it was fine. And, a lot of this, almost the same. And what was great, because for the next few months, we could meet up for coffee, and whatever one was going through, the other one was going through something similar. So if one of us was having some kind of clear awareness or some sort of understanding, the other one was having the same thing. If we were going through some sort of challenge or trouble or difficulty, he was going through the same challenge or difficulty. So it was great that we had at least someone to talk to for a while to go through it, and it helped a little bit classify it. But I made some mistakes at the end of it. I didn't integrate the experience. And because when you have something like that, you need to take time alone to just, yeah, integration is the right word, to come to understand what's just happened and how you are different, how you're not the person and the thing you thought you were. That's an awakening. And a realization is understanding something about the world, this reality. An awakening is realizing that you are not whatever you identified as before, whether it's man, person, human, Canadian or whatever. You're none of that. That your identity is something completely different. And I didn't take the time to integrate, and because of that, it became a very challenging, like I say, 10 years of illness and confusion and difficulty, just based on the fact that I didn't take the time to just sit still and understand what the experience meant. So there's the short version of the experience.
And if you want, he goes in depth with a lot of that and other stuff about his past and other interviews and even my interview that I would give the link in the description. But what I'm about to bring up, I didn't really have time to go critically in depth, and because I'm trying to think of copy notes that's popping in my head, things to discuss or whatever within this talking points within this interview. So one thing that I didn't really jot down, but I can kind of briefly say now, what what if, like, people that go through traumas like that, and or people that perceive the world in chaos, everything's just upside down and crazy, everything's backwards, and near death experiences. What if all that, this world seems chaotic because maybe you remember your near death experience, but what if other people don't remember possible near death experiences? And what if, I know this is going to sound crazy, I know, what if you actually died? What if I'm actually dead? Because but we got to look at this like a simulation, right? So what if we perceive everything crazy because this is like a purgatory type realm? So let me go ahead and go to my what I jotted down. So since I knew you were coming back on in the show, I started thinking a lot about ideas and possible hypotheses to bring to the table. So when you had your near death experience, what if you actually died, and this could be towards anyone who had near death experiences, or that maybe just don't remember things that possibly have happened. So what if you died that day and everything you have experienced throughout life since then has been trying to make sense of all this madness? And I'm saying you, but this could go towards everyone, me myself included, because this is a mad, chaotic, and crazy world we live in. Maybe this world seems to be so mad because we are not in the real world or the real simulation source. Maybe this is actually the simulated purgatory realm we are living in. Yet everything seems real, just like the stake in the matrix. We believe this is the real world, but what if the true base reality is the world we came from when we were the place where we died? So many people have experienced near death experiences, and they come back and talk about there being a bright white light and everything was so calm and peaceful. What if we aren't actually going and experiencing a near death experience? Maybe we're actually experiencing a near birth experience, a NBE. Think about it. Everything is calm. You're going towards the white light. Maybe that white light is you being born in the real world, the true source simulated reality. This doesn't even have to happen with a near death experience, but even when your time is up here in this simulated purgatory realm, you go into the white light and are born again. You're risking, you are rising from death like that of the phoenix. Maybe even the Bible and the Gospels of Jesus dying and being born again have some merit there. Maybe there is something underlying deeper message to the Jesus message in other ancient texts. Maybe we have it all wrong. It is said that this is a training world, a training reality for our soul and consciousness to evolve. And maybe that's why there has been a huge push in evolution of artificial intelligence. The elites can't escape this death world and keep getting recycled back and in once they die. The elites may try and to utilize artificial intelligence. What? Hold up, let me see. Try to utilize artificial intelligence to be able to escape this artificial death trap reality, and maybe AI can help them hack their consciousness into this true base simulated reality. Um, Maybe that's why it's all about we keep dying here in this purgatory like simulated recycled death trap. Maybe once we are spiritually, consciously, and morally evolved, maybe that's when we can go back to true source. And as you say, go home, back to the real world. That's a lot to throw, I know. But
Nice.
I don't know if it's download. I just get this thought, and it's hard to. I'm not a writer. I didn't do good in English. I didn't do good in school, but I get these thoughts, and it's hard for me to put everything. But maybe you and other brilliant minds that are out there can use this and to kind of maybe go down a deeper rabbit hole that have nuggets of truth.
Well, I was taking notes, so I found six different pieces that you were talking about.
Okay.
So I'll start with number one in the order that you discussed them, and we can go through that. And feel free to discuss this, of course, as we go through here. Um, so the first was this idea of, and I think almost everybody who's had a near-death experience like this wonders afterwards, am I really dead? Is the world that I'm experiencing a dead world or whatnot? So I think everybody has had that. I've talked to a few others who've gone through near-death experiences like this. I mean, yeah, I didn't have the one where I cross over and I'm in an astral realm, and mine was all in the physical. But yeah, we've asked that question before, but I've tended to to say no to that one. We can go into a little more of why, but I've tended
No,
to go with that one.
well, we have too much to discuss
Um,
to go down it too much of
yeah.
the rabbit hole.
So, well, because one of the things you were saying is maybe the world is so difficult now for someone who's had a death experience. The reason is because they're dead, and that's why the world seems so chaotic or so strange or so whatever. I guess that's where I'm lucky because I was doing the bulk of my testing of reality, 1999 to 2002. So that was long before I had my death experience. So I was I was doing exercises that tested reality. And like I say, it absolutely failed. It got to the point, like I maybe said in the last interview, where I had to hold on to a chair before I sat down because I wasn't
Yeah.
sure the chair would be there when I would sit on it.
Hmm.
That's to the point of what it got when I was digging through reality, that nothing was solid anymore. Everything was transparent, everything was changing, everything was constantly in motion. And so the world, in a sense, I realize that the world is chaotic because that's how it's built. It's only non-chaotic because we uh we deny all of the reality and focus ourselves into a box, into like a lasered box of this is what's real, this is what's true, this is what I believe, and this is the only thing we project out. And so it solidifies the reality into what we, in a sense, what we believe, what we want reality to be. And a lot of the exercises were designed to break down all of these beliefs, break down all these thoughts, and have nothing to replace them and see what happens to reality. So because of that, I could then say that there's been no change in the chaos of reality. There have been different changes in the chaos of myself, but reality's always had the same chaotic nature ever since I started studying it. Third one. So we can stop here and then I'll get your opinions on stuff. So the next one was that we were talking about the near death, the ones who have the near death experience and this white light, and you talked about it that it's a near birth experience, which is very, I think that's very correct. The white light is like the way a it's just a magnetic thing. Anybody who sees the white light always talks about it's like they were drawn to it. It was so beautiful. It was so peaceful. They had to go towards it. It exuded so much love. It was like it pulled them in like a tractor beam, you know. That's kind of what it was like. And as I've come to understand it, if you go into the white light, you are guaranteed being reincarnated, recycled. You're coming back in here. That's like an absolute guarantee. So in a sense, that would be correct. The near death experience is ending, you might say, with the choice of the white light, because it's also clear that it seems like no one is forced to go to the white light. Now, these beings, whatever is there, that the beings that say they're Jesus and say they're dead grandma and whatever, they try really, really hard to pressure you. You need to go to the white light. You need to go now. You need to. It's like pressure, 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 or guilt and shame. Look at what terrible thing you did. Oh, look at what an awful thing you did here to your sister. You're just not good enough. You have to go back. And so there's a pressure that's being placed on the deceased soul to go towards that white light. And given that the soul is really confused, given that the soul has gone through a life on the material world of pain and suffering, a few people. Sorry, I sometimes get into so many different tangents when we talk, but
I totally
there are
understand.
some people, yeah, there are some people out there who have had pretty good lives. Actually, they've had decent parents. They really loved them. They've had a decent school. They've had good friends. They've had no real major traumas in their life. They got a decent job coming out of school. They got married. Their kids are all healthy. Everything's mostly fine. Anyone who's gone through a life, and there are some people like that, like maybe 2% of the population. Anything I'm saying here will just sound insane to them because the world is, well, it's all just, it's fine. There's no problem. It all works out. Everything's great. So it's really only the majority of people who have gone through trauma or have seen close family members or friends go through really difficult, messy, challenging stuff that can kind of step back and say, there's something not right with this world, because if this was really a place of love and kindness and joy and whatever else, then if that was what the creator was making, the creator would make a world like this. The fact that the world exists as it is indicates that it can't be for the things that we're told that it's for. Otherwise, the level of suffering, and there are people on the planet right now that are suffering intense
Yeah.
amounts of just horrific shit. And to me, as long as one person on the planet is suffering in that kind of horror, then to me, the whole world is horror. Even if it's not happening to me, in a sense, I have such great empathy now that it is even occurring, that it's just not a world I want to be a part of. So I'm going to stop there and just see where you want to take
So
that. I've got got the other three parts we'll get to, but I'll stop there.
So those people that you're right. Every now and then you can come across people. Yeah, some people are full of bullshit, and yeah, and showing virtue signaling how great everything is. But usually your gut can tell you they got it good. Maybe this is their first incarnation into the simulated reality. And maybe
Mm.
they haven't fucked up in the past like you and I and everybody else and have to come back to this purgatory like realm. So is this like a purgatory like
See,
realm?
I'm gonna stop you right there because as soon as you start saying it's a purgatory, then it means there's something wrong with you, and that means you deserve to be here. That it's like a jail. You've done something wrong, you've been caught, and you're forced to go back. And I don't see this as a purgatory at all.
What if
I
I
see
did in
this
the
instead we've
past
been,
though? Me,
yeah.
you, or any others? What if we did do something wrong and we're here?
Sure, then I blame that on the creator, not me. Because if the creator set up a world where I can even be harmful and be insane, then that's the creator's fault. Because the creator could have created a world where that's just not possible. The creator doesn't have to create a world where every animal has to eat another animal just to keep itself going for another day, where creatures are just like how many worms have died in the last minute to feed all the birds, and
Yeah,
how many screams have they just had to go through. I mean, the fact that the world has been packaged in that way indicates that, of course, if we're being put into this world and it's against our will, no, I can pretty much guarantee that if we knew the extent of what this reality is really like, honestly, we're not coming in here. Oh, this is
yeah,
stupid. I'm not coming in this place. So obviously, we're tricked on some level. We're tricked somehow to say, oh no, this is a good place to go for experience, or oh, you need to grow. Oh no, you're not perfect yet. But anyone in a near death experience, as soon as they're in that near death realm, they say, I'm perfect. I know everything. I have totality. I have everything. But oh, but no, maybe you're not really perfect. We're going to throw you back in here into the hellhole and make you go through trauma. My favorite line is from Richard Rose, who says, "Why would an omnipotent being create a bunch of ignorant people and then torture them to make them better?" It just makes no sense
no,
whatsoever. So that's why I want to stop you. I can't in any way see that this is any kind of purgatory, and I can't see in any way that we deserve to be here unless we've still come to believe that we're not perfect and that we need to be tortured in order to obtain our perfection. I don't know about you, but if I had a tough time with a class in school, I much preferred a teacher who sat down and talked to me and shared information and encouraged me rather than whack me over the head with a stick. This is stick whacking realm, and that doesn't really work too well for learning anything.
and
Sorry,
things
go ahead.
and things I bring up, I mention whatever within this interview, and all majority of most of my other interviews, I, I'm trying to make sense of all this madness. Like I hate the belief factor, the belief word, because things I say like purgatory, you're gonna have people out there,
Yeah.
oh, you believe it? No, I'm just trying to make sense of all of
Oh no,
this.
and again, it's our conversation because we like
Mm.
each other. I mean, this is a guy I
you
actually
you are
really,
one of
really
the.
like.
I don't know if you
Yeah.
consider yourself as a philosopher. I don't know, but man, you are probably one of the, not trying to kiss your ass, but you are one of the more brilliant minds that are alive today when it comes to this reality. I don't think there's too many out there that I could say that can just break down this construct, this whatever this is, computer game, simulation, this reality, whatever. And hands down to you, man. I'm dead serious. Like you break things down, you would have been considered, like some of the great philosophers back in the day. You know what I mean? Like, but people like you and others that are similar to you, they just get labeled as a nut job and crazy, and that they don't know what they're talking about. And everybody else that talks about these things, like myself. But so
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I'm just making sure that people out there know the conversation that we're having is really for you. The conversation we're having is for you to take all of these ideas and concepts that we're talking about and look at them yourself. And so that was why I wanted to jump in, for example, on the purgatory comment was not so much for you yourself, but it was for
mm-hmm,
all the listeners out there who might
mm-hmm.
already be saying, oh yeah, purgatory, that's what it is. I already wanted to jump in and say, wait a minute, that's something you better question and think about. Maybe it is, but if it is, how could you test it so that you know for sure? And I presented obviously my thesis, but that doesn't mean my thesis is correct. But it's all those little things like that that I like to try to make sure that we can't solidify too many things. We can only make sure it could be this, it might be that, and let's see if we can break it down. So I'm just sharing that with everyone.
And there may be people that's listening to this or your other interviews that is like another Howard MICKOSKI, but yet they might be an upgraded version of you, but they just don't know it. So maybe things you say, they may go with that. And other people, other
Sure.
researchers, and they may just go with that. You know what I mean? It just planting those seeds, man. Planting those
Yeah.
seeds. Um, just like I don't claim to have the truth of anything. I'm just trying to make sense of this reality. So those other things before we move forward, go ahead
Yeah.
and share your
Yeah.
thoughts on that, man. Those other
Oh, yeah.
whatever you had, just
Yeah.
go ahead and just share
Oh,
your
yeah.
thoughts. This
So
interview is
yeah. So
about
the
you,
next
man.
one
I'm
you
always
would
here.
so the next one you'd mentioned was the Jesus. You said they thought there was something different in the Jesus message. I'm 100% behind you on that. I can't say I know for sure what it is, but from the study of various of the texts themselves, but particularly of the Gnostic texts, which are more complete versions of everything, and of course things that were edited out of the what became the New Testament, like lots was just removed
Yeah.
because it didn't fit the needs of the of the Romans who were putting it together. You do indicate that there is a very different message. There's a deeper message and a message that links to all of these ancient traditions, whether it be ancient Egypt, whether it be the Greeks, the Dionysus, the native Indians, the Taoists, whatever. There's a huge similarity there, and it's um, so I feel confident that there is a really powerful message in there. Like you say, it's just I already, but I know it's like 90 degrees from what people normally think it is. So I'll just say that for that. The other one is again this idea that you brought up that everyone has, and this is, there's two things I think we get brought into this reality with. Two ideas. One is this place was made by a God who loves us and cares about us. That's the first one. And two, it's a school. We're here to learn. These are usually the two underlying principles. And of course, when it comes to a school here to learn, once you realize you're dealing with a memory wipe, once you realize you're dealing with not being able to remember your past incarnations, not able to remember your time before you were born, not able to remember any of this stuff, to me, well, it can't be a school, because the only way you learn is through memory and remembering what you did one time so you don't have to do it again. I make the example of, if I have to touch a stove every morning to burn myself and find out that it's hot, that's insane. The point is, you do that once and you have oh yeah, don't touch the stove when it's on, it's hot, right? Burn yourself. So you don't do that. So if let's say you and I have had 100 lives, because like you say, I think some of the people who have had easier lives, yeah, they might be really new here. We've probably been here a lot of times. We've probably been in this shithole a lot of times.
Could some people be
I
their
would
first
think,
incarnation?
yeah, but let's say for us, we've had 100 of them.
Okay.
By now, we should have probably bumped into just about everything. Like, really, we should be as done as could possibly be if we had memory of it. There shouldn't be too many more things that we need to actually do and test. And we should have been there for all of that. So because the memory wipe is taking all that away from us, it indicates, well, it's not a school. They really don't want us to grow. They really don't want us to truly get better. They want us to be distracted. That I feel is the number. If I had to give a word, what is reality all about? It's distraction. It's getting you focused on everything and anything out there, but not focused on right here. They don't want anyone to be still, be calm, put their awareness on themselves and say, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I going through? What's happening inside of me right now? Who is the thing having the experience? They do not want that. So everything is about out there. So I consider part of this realm to just be a giant distraction tool. And I don't think that they care whether it's a bad distraction or it's a happy distraction. It doesn't matter. As long as you're out there, that means you're not here, and it means you're not going to any kind of depth.
You're right, man. The distraction thing is, I think it goes down to they try to distract us by keeping us our minds always scattered, and people have this, they want information fast. That's why TikTok is so popular, and these short reels are popular, like on Instagram and Facebook, and and they want to scroll, and it's click and receive, and just like our previous interview, did pretty good, but the shorter couple of the shorter clips I did and uploaded to Facebook, like 4 or 5 minutes, did amazing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
60 plus thousand views, you know, and people like, I, I understand that's part of the construct, part of this reality, but you need to slow down and just realize, kind of slow down. That's the reason why after this interview, I'm going to go to the park and just, you know, just try to just get, I don't know, that's how I disconnect from this reality. Is I go to the park, I garden.
Right.
People know that listen to me, I love to garden. I love to see, I love to plant a seed and watch it grow and take care of it, nurture it. I love that.
Yeah.
I love it so much. And so to move forward a little bit, um some some may say, I mentioned something kind of like this on our last one, but I think this is, I've edited a little bit. So some may say, because I'm bringing this up because people's going to be thinking of this, you know, especially people that are new to you. Some may say, what hope do we have, Howdy? And what's the point of living anymore? What's the point of all this if this is some type of simulation? And we're not saying it's technically like a computer game. It's something, we all know that this reality, everything in existence is ones and zeros, and mathematics and geometry, make up this reality. So it's something kind of like that of a simulation. So
Yep.
it's possible there is hope, of course. I'm speculating. But if this is a simulation, maybe the point of all this is to live, love, family, memories, explore, and so much more. While we may be stuck in what may be a simulation, maybe the only hope for the future is all of us to live the best life we can by writing the code, or rewriting the code, or editing the code, hence dropping seeds within the simulation. If we all constantly writing the code collectively, rewriting the code while we're here, maybe, just maybe, the future will be better place for our grandchildren, because we are the co-creators or architects within the simulation. We just don't know it. We don't know our true potential. The possibilities are endless, but the future depends on us right here, right now, to do the best we can and strive to be the best version, the best copy of us within the simulation.
Okay. I will say that for 98% of the population, I would say that's the message that everyone should take. Because, like you say, it's a simulation, it's vast. The simulation is in itself, the Plato's cave is vast, it's huge. It's beyond what you can imagine from the standpoint of potential and size. So from that perspective, there's no problem to, in one sense, to look around as much as you want and do what you want inside the cave. Sure. And
Can
uh
we rewrite the code? Or am I just making some throwing some BS out there? Can we rewrite the code as
well,
co-creators within the simulation? Or am I just speculating and just trying to be hopeful and optimistic?
yeah. So this is just my opinion, right?
Throw it out
Everybody
there,
should
man.
take this as only my opinion. But from where I've come to see things now, the simulation, it'd be like asking, can a video game character change the video game? Right? Now, it seems like though, now there's two pieces here because like you say, we have a power that we don't really, that's another thing. Another big part of the distraction is by distracting away from here, we're being distracted away from our own true power. Now, here's the thing. If the simulation was built, let's put it this way. most people are put tremendous amount of focus on fixing the world. They find out the world's insane. They come to see it's insane, whether it's government, it's the makeup of the world, it's how things are done, it's the way nature's set up, or whatever. It's insane. And so the first feeling is, and it's quite natural, I need to fix it. And I think there's a reason for that. I think that's one of the original reasons we were tricked to coming into this entire matrix in the first place, was to help it, actually. So it's just natural that people say, I want to fix this crazy place. But it's coming from a particular belief structure that this reality is supposed to be sane. That's the belief. And so I'm seeing that it's not. So my job is then to fix it, right? God made a mistake, so I'm going to fix it. If one can see that the reality was actually built to be insane, that's what this place actually is. It's been insane ever since it was invented. Then we can realize, trying to fix it would actually be insane. That would be a giant waste of our energy trying to force something that was built to be one thing to be something else. But it seems like we can have a tremendous ability and a tremendous power to transform and change small things within the simulation. So, some people close to us and our own environment and the place that we inhabit, we seem to have tremendous ability to transform this. And I found, at least for myself, because I went through that for 5 years. I'm going to fix the world. I'm gonna save it. And I realized all I'm going to do is bring myself to an early grave trying to do this. But once I then just focused on me, the people who are in my close environment, the places where I live, try to make that better, be of value here, things started changing at a massive rate. And then I realized, it's just about where do you put your energy. And partially, once you stop trying to go out and fix everything, and I'm not saying you can't hack into the code, because I think certain ancient, we'll call them philosophers, people like Pythagoras or some of the Egyptian wisdom teachings. I mean, they were. I mean, you technically can. It's just a computer code. You can hack into it, but it's a tremendous amount of work to do that. And the question becomes, what's the end result for all the hard work? But if we turn our attention within and see that actually all of this is a simulation, but the true thing that I am is not a simulation. The true thing that I am, what I like to call the divine spark, the thing that's not from the simulation, which is more powerful than anything here. There's nothing in this simulation that's greater than each of our own individual divine sparks, which of course isn't even individual. It's a totality. It's a completeness. It's a oneness. That is a power beyond anything, and it's a power greater than the simulation. And to me, the greatest use of that power is to just not come back into this place. It's to return home and to potentially help a few others who are ready to return home. But along the way, I still want to be of value because that's just a natural tendency. I still want to work on transforming the experience that some people around me are having. And I would never discourage anyone who want to go out there and if you make a change to the simulation. I'd say, give it your best shot. If you can do it, I'll be the first one to pat you on the back. Like literally, I'll be like, I'm all for it. But I've seen billions of people try for a lot of, and we're just in one simulation. There's been many simulations before this one, right? So, and this simulation is coming to an end. This simulation isn't going to be around much longer. So the question becomes, do you want to be potentially moving into a new simulation, or do you just want truth? That's the best way of describing it. Do you just want truth? Like once you have, and I don't say I have truth fully. I've got parts of it. I've got pieces of it, but I don't have everything. But to me, it's like if you have truth, then in a sense, it doesn't matter what the simulation does. Again, I think I've said it a number of times, but the only goal I can see in this reality, which is insane, is to be sane, is just to be radically sane. There is nothing that I think the simulation dislikes more than any creature who is sane. So I would say that if you're asking, of course, my opinion, it would just be the number one goal of anybody is work on 24-hour a day total sanity. And that if you've got that and then you want to go out and whatever you want to do with that sanity, that's up to you. That's great. But if you're still fighting, if you're still not sane, if you're still dealing with getting sucked into the world, getting sucked into the dream, then you're not being, I don't think you're being of as much help as you possibly can. It's if the mother's on drugs, she really can't help the kids no matter how much she wants to until she cleans herself up from the drugs, right? You have to take step one of finding your own inner sanity and your own inner clarity and your own inner health. Once you've got that, now you can do something with it externally. And I think too many people they're focused on the external first and forgetting it starts here. It starts with creating that balance and harmony in the thing you look in the mirror from every day.
I meant to mention this also, and you kind of already just talked about it. So I've heard you say many times that you are tired of this reality and just want to go home. I think a lot of us can
Mhm.
agree with that. I know you want to escape this prison-like reality realm program of the simulation, but where is home, Howdy? And wouldn't you like to see the day where we as cogs within this reality are able to wake up to the degree and change the paradigm within this version of this simulation? Maybe even
Hey,
to the
like I say, yeah, like I say, if that can happen and great, send me a postcard, let me know how it worked out. Fantastic. I'd be happy to read it, you might
where is
say,
where
but
is home though, Howdy? Well, what version on the next out of this reality?
mm,
If of course this is speculation, but your speculation is a lot better than a lot of ours because you have dove so much into this material, so much more than a lot of other people. So you're not going through the white light. I don't agree. Okay. What do you think? Now this is speculation, but what do you think might be on the other side once you don't go through the white light?
as best as I can simplify this,
Do you
so
want to help support Beyond Forbidden and receive extra content that's not seen anywhere else? By becoming a patron, a few things you will receive are the full-length 90-minute or 120-minute podcast episode. Members will also receive a private link to the video podcast and will only be exclusive to Patreon members. In-person, face-to-face interviews with some of the most well-known, respected researchers. Behind-the-scenes footage of interviews not seen anywhere else. And that's just a few perks. So what do you have to lose? Cut out one brain-rotting, overly processed Happy Meal a month that doesn't do anything beneficial for your mind, body, and spirit, and become a Patreon for just $5.